Here I have a pair of engine mounts out of my E90 328i. These are the same on many cars of that generation. So I suppose this can be something like why and how you should replace your engine mounts. I have two of them, like I said, one is used and one is new. So these engine mounts, even if they still look good, they might not be actually that much of a functional part anymore. So these engines have two engine mounts. They're the same left and right, except for special situations, which is N54 and 55 engines, and 335IS, which is N54T or something like that. I don't remember from the top of my head. Those have well, one of them is stiffer, and some of those have like a heat shield on the right side. So these engine mounts have two mounting bolts on the bottom that keep these attached to the subframe, and there is one bolt or a stud on the top where the engine mount bracket, I guess, is attached. So this stud is a 10mm stud. These two bolts are M8 bolts. So to remove the engine mount, you have to naturally remove these two bolts to detach it from the subframe and remove this nut on the top. And basically you have to push the engine up far enough so the mount slides out, and then you get the new one in. So that's the replacement procedure. So to identify if your engine mount is not good anymore, well, I guess you would basically start to feel vibrations, excessive vibrations and all. So I guess it's more of a feel type of identification. So here I am under the car looking at the right hand side engine mount. So this is the engine mount, this is the engine mount bracket, and I guess that's the bottom line of this situation. Once the engine mounts age well enough and shrink down too far, this gap becomes so small that the engine mount bracket would pretty much just ride against this rubber on the top of the engine mount, and that will transfer a lot of vibrations from the engine to the car structure, and that would actually be something that you could feel. Now the situation is slightly different on the left side. First of all, I have replaced this engine mount already, so this is a new one, and the shape of this bracket is different, so this gap seems to be significantly larger. So as far as the replacement goes, these are the bolts that hold it, the mount to the subframe. So these bolts are accessible from the bottom through these windows in the subframe. Here is one, here is two. On my car, these are kind of Torx shape and they're tall heads, so that's kind of weird looking, but that's what they are. And so you basically have to remove these. There is enough access for the socket to go into, and then you have a nut on the top of this, so I will probably just go to the top. And looking at the mount from the top side of the engine, there is the nut right there on the top of that bracket, and that's what you have to remove. This is the right side, by the way, so it's fairly easy to access. There is plenty of room, and I'm just going to, I guess, show how to do that. You have to get with a long extension basically to that nut and just remove it. Easy. So here's the left side engine mount. I'm looking at it basically through the wheel well, but you really cannot access this. I mean, the nut is right there, but you cannot really remove it from here because there's just not enough room to work. Well, I guess you can try with like a wrench, but I just never bother doing it from here because it's much easier. Because it's much easier to get to this nut from the top with an extension, and of course it's almost impossible to see it from here, but It's a straight way down basically with an extension in a socket, even if the camera doesn't show, but basically you go behind the well, in between the strut brace in this case that I have here and the power steering, just enough room and it can be done. So here's my 16mm socket and my extension. So basically there is the nut on the top of the engine mount. It just gets on like this. There's plenty of room to go through. There is a bit of an angle, so that's not a big deal. And my extension is slightly oversized, but it could be shorter by this much, but it works anyway. I made it tight myself. There you go. Just spin it and you're done. So the knot is off. So as far as the bottom part, so I have a E12 socket. So there's one bolt. It's very long. I think it's too long. I don't know why it's like that, but it is what it is. The second bolt is right here. Comes out like so. Bolt number 2, and you're pretty much done with the engine mount. The only removal, I guess. So all you have to do now is just push the engine up far enough so this just slides out. So I was really curious to measure this gap on the old mount, and what fits in there is about 4.2 millimeters. I would say 4.5 millimeters gap currently with the old engine mount. So what I did to push the engine up, I installed this floor jack under the oil pan, which is kind of safe to do. I used this wooden block as a spacer. So like I was saying, you get the engine high enough so the mount just comes out like so. Make sure everything is clean, then get the new mount in. Maybe a little bit tricky. It goes in. I don't know which way, but I wish the engine could go higher. Yep, you kind of have to line up the top first. Just get it in. It just doesn't want to. Well, now it does. Then you kind of have to turn it this way. Like so. I guess you can try and stick one of these or two of them, these bolts, to line things up a little bit. That's one. That's two. It's lined up. Now I have to lower the engine. There you go. So the new mount is in place. I can even probably put the nut on from here. Yep, I can. So okay, so the nut is on. These two bolts are in. Make everything tight, and you're done with the replacement. Now I'm just curious to measure the gaps. Let's see what it is. I'm just using these filler gauges as a... Well, that's what they are. Filler gauges, right? That's what they're for. To get the gaps measured. Yep, that goes in, so this measures 7.8. So 4.5 to 7.8, like 3.5 millimeters. So that's the difference. I can almost stick my finger in there. Not that I should. It's a difference, and that difference makes a difference. I did the left side some time ago. It's basically the same procedure. It's a little bit tighter as far as the spacing goes on that side to remove the mount out, but the same idea, same bolts, same size, everything, and just you can just push the engine up and remove both of them at the same time, and it's highly recommended to do. So we're done. Because it looks much more scarier, or well, worse, I guess. Nothing scares me anymore.